God, I'm sharing it right now. Should be coming up in just a moment. Come on, you bastards. All right, I'm sharing it right now.
Hold on. There he is.
Okay, that's fine. How's everybody's preparations going? I have a Charlie Brown tree in my living room. I don't know if I'll be able to see this. Hang on a second. This was a present from my girlfriend. She got me a Charlie Brown tree. Oh, there it is. I don't know. Oh, yeah, y'all can see that. I think it's cute. And she pointed out the irony, of course, that Charlie Brown was upset about the commercialism of Christmas. And this tree apparently was made by some Chinese children that were nearly whipped to death making it. So I don't know. Is that irony? I'm not sure, but I like it. It's cute and it's very festive. And you can see Linus's little blanket wrapped around the bottom of it. Cute. I also have this picture of Joni Ernst that I'm going to be putting up here in a second. Oh, there we go. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's BDub4Reels. BDUB number 4 REELZ. Let's see. I had a little moment yesterday where I was a little warm and I sounded froggy, according to a third party or a second party. Anyway, I'm okay now. I didn't feel bad. I never felt bad. I did feel a little bit warm, but I'm fine. So nothing to worry about. And I hope you all are going to stay healthy because things are very bad right now. And some of this is the fallout from the Thanksgiving gathering. So if you're thinking of going to a Christmas gathering, don't. I think that's the way to go. We used to do this thing at my mom's on Christmas Eve where we would have bingo. My grandmother, who passed away like 20 years ago, was a bingo fanatic, loved to play bingo. So in her honor, every year we would have bingo. Everybody would bring a small gift, put them in a pile, and people would bingo, and then you take a gift. I was exempt from taking or bringing gifts because I would call the bingo because I have enough tchotchkes and crap at my house. So I would always call bingo. In the past couple of years, I've not been able to go to the holiday gathering because of work, and I'm not going to be able to this year. So I kind of miss that. Is he chopping down your bushes, so to speak?
No, it's like going to the dentist. They keep finding new things wrong.
How strange.
No.
Is that like the extra $600 that all the hospitals are getting for just saying that patients are corona?
No, this is worse. I don't know, it was $100 for the gutters. I ended up giving him $3,000. I don't even know what it was for.
That's weird. I don't even have any idea. Yeah. I just showed everybody my Charlie Brown tree. And now I've got a picture of Joni Ernst with the how it started and how's it going meme, where she said that the doctors are lying about corona to get more money, and now it shows her with the mask on getting the vaccination. I mean, not that she's like a big hypocrite or anything, but where's my stuff? Oh, there I am. Can you? There, you should be able to see that. Can you see my Charlie Brown tree? That's my Charlie Brown tree.
I'm on the. Okay.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay. All right. It's the Brad and Britt casts for this week. This is Christmas week. We do two. We do one live on Monday, one live on Tuesday, and then two on New Year's week on Monday and Tuesday of that week. So how about that? That's our schedule. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening.
I guess you're very happy about the Ohio State Buckeyes conning their way into the national championship picture, into the college football playoff.
No. It's not a con, Britt, but nothing excites me more than the end of the year beatdown by Clemson. That's what excites me, to have them just completely again embarrassed and disgraced and beaten down. That's what's got me excited. That's all I got on football.
And now the University of Notre Dame has the privilege of possibly getting beaten twice by Clemson in the same season. So that's kind of fun.
That's right.
That's a good time for all. I guess we should discuss some of the most important news of the weekend, and that is the Friday night fancy fun follies in the White House, where all sorts of sedition and martial law were discussed, including making Sidney Powell some sort of special counsel to the president, Brad, which was eventually shot down by several people, including Rudolph Giuliani, who thought it took the spotlight off of him.
Well, see, and this is the problem with even talking about it the way we're talking about it, which is you can't really take it seriously because it wasn't going to happen. Mm-hmm. And within the realm of the way it looks in a headline, wow, we were this close to the end of the country. We were this close to being, Guatemala in 1954 or something like that. And I wish that the reporting of this would go like this. President Trump, who does not have the power or ability to appoint a special counsel. Now, add everything that you saw elsewhere. It was not. He couldn't do it. He can't do it. He can't be the quarterback of the Packers next week. He can't appoint a special counsel. Okay. And it was never going to happen. It was never going to happen. And that's what bothers me, that we're even allowing him to string us along like that.
Well, allow me to push back the idiotic, stupid, dangerous ideas made their way inside the Oval Office, and they were presented to the craziest motherfucker on the planet who has done all sorts of crazy shit. Now, you say this stuff can't happen. People are saying martial law can't happen. Again, I would feel more comfortable if perhaps there were people in his own party, Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Ron Johnson, anybody who would push back against any of the illegal activity that he's done so far. I would feel much more safe if perhaps he said, I'm declaring martial law, and then I felt like Lindsey Graham would go, no, that's a step too far. It's 50-50 if that happens at best right now, right?
But again, I think the same premise works with a president just doesn't declare martial law and the army will come in and seize all of the voting machines and conduct an election the way military elections are conducted all over the world. We'll have it here. It's not ever going to happen. Right. This isn't even under the, well, fucking, well, look what he's done for 4 years. No, this was never going to be. And what I would say is that this is proof that he really has crossed into a mental illness zone.
Well, there you go.
That brings up if this isn't the place for a 25th Amendment intervention, then they're get rid of the 25th Amendment. We can chop one off because it will never be I can't think of another reason for it to be applied that would supersede this one. Can you? I can't.
There's been several, and I think Joe Scarborough has a listening device planted at your house because he was saying very much many of the same things. Like, why do we even have a 25th Amendment if this ain't it? If you ain't, you got a guy who's like even kind of a little contemplating these very illegal, mentally ill ideas, and can't you just at some point go, we have to get rid of him? And I'm sorry, put Mike Pence in there for the last month and just pray for the best. And Mike Pence would like that because, again, we're in some sort of prayer as it is right now for this entire situation. So, yes, the 25th Amendment seems completely
but it's
like
not,
something
again,
that should be invoked.
Of course, but it isn't going to be, so we can stop talking about it. It's not going to be invoked either.
Yes.
So we have to talk about what's within the realm of reality of the next 30 days. And part of the story is that apparently, yes, Rudy Giuliani said, no, Don, you can't do that.
But why did he say no? Why did he say no?
And even Mark Meadows and Rudy Giuliani were the voices of reason telling Trump he can't do martial law. So we're down to, we're not on the third or fourth string now. We're on the fifth string players.
Oh, I agree.
Telling Trump, and it's just.
But why do you think Rudy Giuliani said that? Because he feels like that's just a bridge too far, and that just would be bad for America? Or do you think that? But do you think that would be a tacit admission that his legal expertise was bullshit, and now we have to go to the quote unquote nuclear option? We have to take the guns in there and start seizing machines.
Well,
I don't think Rudolph Giuliani did that because of his love of America. Let me just say that forthwith.
Well, we've said for 4 years, what will it take for blank to say blank about that? And we could have said that about Giuliani. What will it take for Giuliani, the guy who we recite his resume, great federal prosecutor, put mafia guys in jail, was mayor of New York, did all the, and what has happened to Rudy Giuliani? And we said, well, oh God, there's something wrong with him. But even at this late hour, Giuliani is not willing to sign off on allowing the president to even think that he can send tanks into the streets of Detroit and Milwaukee and Philadelphia, those Negro cities where they cheat a lot and deny you your rightful place as a two-term president, sir. Even Giuliani knows that can't be done. It shouldn't be done. It shouldn't be contemplated. The same way that in his last press conference on Monday as Attorney General, Bill Barr, one more time, said, no, Don, we're not going to appoint any special prosecutors. I'm not going to do that because I'm the one that would be doing that if it was decided that there was reason to, say, appoint a special prosecutor to investigate Hunter Biden. We're not doing that. I don't see shit for shat about Hunter Biden. And I don't see shit for shat about election fraud that would merit any kind of federal investigation overseen by some kind of special prosecutor, which I, the Attorney General, have the right to appoint, but you do not. So again, that's another story that I think was misreported all weekend long. Is Donald Trump going to appoint Sidney Powell to be the special? No. Fuck no. Triple fuck no. He can't appoint her, and she's crazy, and he's crazy. So it wasn't within the realm of reality, and I think it plays into Trumpism, and I think here's the big setup. You ready for the big setup? Right. Here we go. It's spelled Georgia. Trump, I believe, does not want the Republicans, David Perdue, Kelly Law, he does not want them to win so that the predicate can be extended even further, that there was cheating. And not only was he denied a second term, but the American people have been denied a Republican-controlled Senate by the corrupt Secretary of State and the corrupt governor of Georgia. The two guys who were complete Trump suck-ups for 4 years.
Absolutely.
Joined the Vulcans.
The never Trumpers.
Right, the never Trumpers. Okay. I believe that Trump wants that because since it's all about fundraising for him, it's all about keeping the money flowing. What keeps the money flowing better than on January 5th, getting a new life? Breathing new conspiracy theories into the broader conspiracy theory of they're taking it from you. It's a stab in the back. It's just like what happened to Germany in 1930. And that's what this is. This is all theater. It's all bullshit. And that
doesn't mean that it can't. That means that it can't turn deadly real. I mean, at some point, kids in cages was just theater, but then all of a sudden, kids ended up in cages. We're going to actually put kids in cages. I mean, you have to forgive the press a little bit for not being able to keep up with the probability of some of the insanity, because there's things that we didn't think that would happen that have happened over the past 4 years that we didn't think that things were possible, and they've been challenged in court and eventually knocked down. But that doesn't mean damage wasn't done in the interim. I mean, as of right now,
but the military's already put out a statement saying, "No fucking way are we going in and grabbing."
I'm glad.
Voting machines.
I'm happy for that. All it takes is one insane general somewhere at Fort Hood or Fort Leonard Wood or something to go, and he'll seize from Fuckstick, Missouri. He'll take one voting machine, and then the race is on. I'm sorry, but I'm open to the possibility that there's like at least one simpatico, insane human being out there who might feel Donald Trump's vibe. You saw the crazy story out of Texas about the one retired police officer who pulled over some air conditioning tech or something, saying that he had voting machine shit because he couldn't get the local law enforcement to do what he wanted to do. And somehow in that story, Brad, I feel that the story was this man who was paid by someone hundreds of thousands of dollars to investigate election fraud felt that he was going to make some sort of citizen's arrest. Now, he was taken into custody before any damage was done, but how long is it before some guy who has something above the rank of retired police officer in order to do a little bit of damage? That's the frightening part.
No. I understand what Trump is doing. I get it. He is trying to stoke violence in this country. He is trying to tear the fabric of the society apart on his behalf, that will keep him out of prosecution and out of prison and out of courtrooms for another 4 years. That's all it is for him. It's nothing else. It's not like he wants to do the job as president. It's not as all right. Let's play stupid fantasy football here with Trump. All right.
Go ahead.
Here's the stupidest fantasy football thing of all. And remember, for the last 6 weeks, he has checked out. Okay. He is the guy in your office who knows he's getting fired and just sits there at his desk and doesn't do anything for 6 weeks because he's still getting paid, right? He's that guy. Right. He's completely disregarded everything, and nothing to help Americans get over the virus. Nothing. All he wants is credit for solving the whole problem because there's a vaccine, which he's undercut any ability to go into the history books as the guy who came up, maybe signed off on Operation Warp Speed that helped speed the process along a little bit more than it otherwise would have been and help fund it. But he's blown that by his overall reaction to that. But now in the last 6 weeks, he's into full, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to help anybody. I have no opinion. You're on your own. 50 governors. Good luck. Go fight for the vaccine. We're going to throw some into the middle of the room. Everybody charge and get it. He's completely out on that. And then over the weekend, he completely went back into, and how many times has he done this when Putin does something that has Putin's name all over it? What's his default position? Well, it might have been China.
Could have been anybody. We don't know. We've done bad stuff too. Don't you know we've done bad stuff?
Right. And again, the 400-pound guy on his bed in Jersey may still be working his magic. He may have infiltrated all the computer systems of 400 of the 500 largest companies and the entire U.S. government because he's that good. And so this brings up the ultimate case of two bookends of Russia and Putin being on the front end of his election in 2016, which is not a hoax, which was not completely disproven. All the things that the right wingers are saying, they love to play that game. They love to rewrite history in real time, right? It had nothing to do with 20. And you people keep saying the election was fake in 2016, but now you say it's real? Well, no, we didn't say the election was fake in 2016. We just said that the Russians and Vladimir Putin favored Trump and let out all kinds of information and messed with our social media enough to move people in the direction just enough in just enough states to help Trump win. We didn't say the election was illegitimate. We didn't say it wasn't counted correctly. We didn't say that some foreign entity changed votes in the voting machines from Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump. We didn't do any of those things, but they're trying to create a false equivalence right now. Have you noticed that? Just a little bit?
Yes.
Just a little bit. But so here in the last weeks of his presidency, Trump throws one more sop to Vladimir Putin when everyone in the administration, the entire intelligence community, everyone who knows how things get hacked and how everyone knows it's the Russians. And so what does Trump do? He pretends he doesn't know anything. Nobody told me about it. And if it did happen, it was probably the China, he gives the same answer. He gives the same evasive, I don't want to offend Vladimir Putin. And it ups the quotient of what does Putin have on this guy? It has to be financial. He must own Donald Trump because there are only two languages Trump speaks in: money and power.
Isn't that the real Kraken? Isn't that when Putin finally unleashes all the shit that he's got on Donald Trump? Isn't that the massive Kraken? Because there's no leverage Donald Trump has on Putin, right? There's not nothing that he's got on him. It's all compromise coming from the other side, correct?
What Trump has nothing on anybody.
I don't think he does, because I think if Putin owns him, I mean, I think he's been laundering.
Why did you even ask that? That's not a question.
Well, it's like it seems like if you had something on somebody, you would just unleash and go, "This is what I have on him. I've got this tape of people peeing on him, and this is him. He's been laundering money for me for years and years. And why hasn't that happened? Well, the reason you wouldn't release something on somebody else is because they got something on you. But I
completely disagree. The Russians are smarter than that. They know that if you know that they have the information on you, they own you. That's what compromise is, Britt.
But at this point, I understand what compromise is, but at this point, there's nothing Donald Trump can do for Vladimir Putin. There's nothing. He has wrung every bit out of it, and he's about to kick him out of the door and have him get an Uber on the way home, right? So you might as well just go ahead and tell the world, this is what I have on Donald Trump. That P tape, that's for real. The whole thing about him laundering money for me, that's for real. All that shit, this is what I had on. This is the guy that has been your president for the past 4 years, and I fucking owned his ass. And this is the list of shit that I had on it.
But I disagree that he has to say it now. It works better. Obviously, it's worked pretty well. If we're correct about this, and I think we are, it's worked pretty well for 4 years, just holding the sword over his head. You don't put it out there.
But on January 20th at noon, certainly his usefulness with Donald Trump would be over, right?
Right, and maybe it'll start to leak out of what Putin has on Trump officially, and when we start to see tax returns, and when we see lawsuits in the state of New York start to go forward, we might learn that. But what he did this past weekend, in completely disregarding what appears to be the largest invasion of this country since 9/11, preceded by Pearl Harbor. Those would be your big three in the last 80 years, right? And the last one now is cyber. And what it speaks to, I think, and this is not to say that we don't do this with other countries and that they haven't been looking inside of our technology for 30 or 40 years too. I mean, we know this isn't a brand new thing, but you probably got to believe that it accelerated. It accelerated under Putin as it relates to Trump, that Putin could put his foot on the gas, and he could see that we were obsessed with making sure that the way he screwed around with the elections in 2016 wasn't going to happen again. And so he said, all right, I'll give that to you. We won't even try to mess with the elections. Thus, it turned out that the votes were counted correctly. Nothing was tampered with. And you have Christopher Krebs, the now fired cyber guy, saying this was the safest election that we've ever had. And you had states all around the country agreeing with him. So the Russians knew that they could leave the election alone, and everyone would be paying attention to that. And then you had just the entire rest of the government. You can go after the entire 400 out of the top 500. We can go after them. We can play games with them, and they won't be thinking about that right now quite so much. And I think this is a brilliant move by Putin. You talk about the three-dimensional chess. I think he completely bamboozled us, don't you?
It looks very much, and I'm looking at people like who seem to be so serious about national security previously. There's people like, I'm looking at you, Lindsey Graham, who haven't really said a whole lot about the Russian hack. And under other circumstances, as you point out, this would be considered somewhat of an act of war. And I'm not saying we need to send troops to the Russian front at this point, but you would think so.
Yeah, if this happened under a president, let's pick a name, Joe Biden. The names you just said, Lindsey Graham, and Ted Cruz, yes, they would say, why haven't you declared war on Russia? Of course, because this is still about giving Trump all the benefit of the doubt and sucking up to him to the very, very last moment.
It's been very interesting because we had a terrorist attack at a military base in Tampa. We had this, which would be considered, I suppose, an attack on the United States as far as a hack goes. And these people who seem so interested in national security are saying nothing. It's just very, very curious to me as to why that they are so silent. I don't even know. And I was looking for Lindsey Graham.
Aren't we past that, Britt? We know.
It's so strange when the president isn't black. It's just so odd how things get taken a little less seriously.
No, I think Democrat will suffice. Black help, but Democrat will suffice.
I look forward to their criticism of a white Democratic president. Very, very soon. I know Benghazi was the worst terrorist attack in the history of America. I know that, and also we haven't heard a lot from these same people as far as, the Russians putting bounties on American servicemen, have we? They haven't been quite as vocal about that either. It's so strange.
Add that to the list.
It's just very odd.
See, what this is all wrapped up in, and it's never going to reach this point in the courts or anywhere else. But this really is a treasonous president, an anti-American president. This guy worked against the interests of the United States in so many different areas, and in foreign policy, where, again, if you go to the revisionist history people, the right wingers, the Fox people, and they'll tell you how great Trump was on foreign policy. What about Jerusalem? That was the greatest thing ever.
Yes. How did that affect the average American? How did that affect the guys driving the trucks in Iowa?
Right.
I don't get that. I don't understand that at all. So it's strange to see the stuff that you mentioned. I do want to go back about the William Barr stuff and how he now publicly has said, we don't need to look into any election. There's nothing there. There's no special process, anything like that. Do you not think he opens himself up to being sent home? He's got 2 days. He's got 2 days. Do you not think that Donald Trump, in a fit of pique, could send him home and fire him and say,
he's already resigned? You can't fire somebody. He's already resigned. That's trivia. You're into trivia there.
I'm not into trivia. He can be sent home. If you don't think in a fit of pique in the next 48 hours that Bill Barr, because he didn't go along with the president's agenda, can be sent home a little bit early and on a permanent vacation.
Well, I hope he does, because then he gets the severance pay, right? Aren't those like our contracts, Britt? We couldn't quit. We couldn't quit, or we wouldn't get another year's pay.
That's exactly right. So we
WBT. So we stayed, and they refused to fire us.
They did, and we kept getting bonuses because we sucked so bad. We just continued. So I also think that partially the reason that Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio and the whole hee-haw gang can't really criticize Donald Trump is that eventually it's going to come out that they helped prop up a tool of the Russian president. We've been the guy who has been a puppet of Trump over the past 4 years. It's going to be exposed that Vladimir Putin was essentially president of the United States for these past 4 years. That's essentially what happened. So as history goes, the people who supported that and enabled Vladimir Putin to be president of the United States those people are going to be Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and Ron Johnson. And then on the House side, you got people like Jim Jordan and folks like that, right? That's what's going to happen eventually, isn't it?
Yeah, but look, I don't know what's going to be left. I don't know. It could be like the New England Patriots once Tom Brady left. Guess what? They really did fall apart. He really was the man. Okay. They couldn't win with anybody else.
As it turns out,
he really was the whole show up there. I don't look. It's just a case of, can we just close our eyes and fold our arms and turn up the music loud and say, come back in 30 days, wake me up.
Let's just run out the clock on this.
Can we just get it done? And the thought that he still has support from people around the country in whatever percentage you want, whether it's 45%, you can say, well, 70 million people, blah blah. The fact that is still the truth and is still real, that's the frightening part, because Trump may go away. Trump won't live forever, but Trumpism right now is as vicious and evil a cancer as we've ever seen, certainly in our lifetimes. And I got to think somewhere Joe McCarthy is smiling.
He's got to be.
He's got to be smiling. Roy Cohn is smiling, and Frederick Trump, the father, is smiling. Now, Don, you did us proud.
Although here's the irony of the McCarthy thing. He was like fake trying to make up that certain people were simpatico with the Russians. These people actually are simpatico with the Russians. They are in complete lockstep with the Russians. So McCarthy himself might be disgusted at how badly Donald Trump is sucking Vladimir Putin's penis.
Well, see, but you can't cross 65, 70 years of history and try to use the equation. But
although in his heart and in his soul, Vladimir Putin is a Soviet. He's a communist. He loves. There's not an inch worth of difference between him and the guys that were in charge of Russia back during that era.
He wants to get the Beatles back together. There's
no question. Yeah, he's that guy.
He is that guy. All right, can we talk about something that's kind of not important, but I thought it was a great idea when I heard it today.
Sure.
And it relates to the coronavirus and who gets the vaccine, in what order, and things of that sort. This was during a discussion with Stephen A. Smith and a couple of other guys on ESPN just before noon. And I think Max Kellerman said that he heard JT the Brick, great talk show host, guy's pretty good.
Massive Oakland Raiders fan.
Big Raiders fan.
Now, I don't know if he's with them. It's now they moved to Las Vegas.
All right. This is his idea: to save the Super Bowl in a way that the NFL would like, which is right now they can't have a full stadium, just like every game you watch. No, what do you say? Some stadiums like 20% full right now.
Like that, yeah.
And considering the way the coronavirus is spreading, it doesn't look like 6 weeks from now, February 7th, things aren't going to be better. They may be worse. But here's his idea: fill up the stadium with first responders who have already gotten the vaccine these few weeks, and by February 7th, they will be fully vaccinated and as safe as you're going to be from the vaccine, and fill up the stadium. A thank you to the first responders. It wouldn't cost the NFL that much. They can afford to fly 40,000 people to wherever.
We have to get them to sign a pledge that they will not kneel during the national anthem. Those first responders.
All right, it was a good idea. It was a great idea until you got there. Yeah. Because those first responders hate America most.
That's exactly right. And get that, because when you kneel during the national anthem, that's what you're saying. I hate America.
But isn't that just a ridiculously creative?
It is,
and good idea.
It's a chip shot. It's a free throw. It's what the NFL needs for some PR and stuff. And yes, that would not be a bad idea at all, I think. Right.
And of course, it's such a good idea that it can't possibly happen, right?
Well, that's true. That's true.
Anytime because it seems in a way to be, sort of obvious, because the first responders are the first ones that are getting the vaccine this week and next week, and they will have that second shot by the middle third week of January. So they'll be good to go. by February 7th. So
These,
let it happen. Let it
I
happen.
don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but these mRNA vaccines are amazing if you've read about them, because it's very different from the vaccines you've heard about your entire life. You do not get the actual virus put into your body to build up an immunity to it. It does something to your cells that makes them recognize when the thing enters your body and goes, "Oh, I've seen you before. Fuck you." If I may put it in layman's terms. I hope I'm not going over your head with my medical doctor um, parlance here, but that's what they do. They don't, in the past, when you got a flu shot or you got any kind of other shot, like I took a flu shot this year, they would kind of work up what they thought as far as the flu shot is going to be the actual virus itself. They put it into you in a small dosage. Your white blood cells then attack that. You build up an immunity so that when you get that thing before, your cells recognize and go, "Oh, I've seen you before. It's not foreign to us, and you're not going to get sick." But you've seen now the stories about the mutation in Great Britain causing somewhat of a panic, right?
Yeah, I'm not panicking till there's a reason to panic, because again, you're working off of headlines here. Giant headline: will the vaccine work on this one? And
the borders between France and Great Britain have been closed. There are a lot of people that are saying the United States should follow suit and close off trade or any kind of travel between Great Britain and the United States.
That, what you just said, is completely divorced from will the vaccine work on variations and mutations.
I agree.
Because yes, maybe this spreads more efficiently and faster, but that doesn't mean it's immune from having the vaccine work on it. So again, but we got to have headlines. We got to have sex. We got to have rock and roll. We got to scare people. We got to give people more reason. We have to give the anti-vaccine people more reason to say, "See, I told you so." Because this vaccine from Moderna, this vaccine from Pfizer, they're not 100% perfect every time as if there's ever been a vaccine that's been that way. You would think that all these people I just had a guy that I talked to 20 minutes ago at my house. I got some people working on my house. It's a family business. Son, father, and the old man who drives the truck stands there with a cane and supervises. He did whatever he was doing for years. Family, and he's got about 2 teeth. And talking to him from a long distance, I asked him how he was doing. He said, "Oh, I'm doing great." I said, "You going to get that vaccine?" He said, "Hell no."
You getting it?
And I ain't getting it. I'm getting it. And he went through this elongated discussion of, last year I was in the hospital for a whole week with the flu, and I got to tell you, that was horrible. And, he equated this to getting a vaccine that was the flu he thinks he got the flu from the vaccine last year. He's convinced. There's no talking to him.
It's not possible.
Not possible.
And as I just explained to you, this does not put the virus into your
good
body.
Would you, when we're done, you can come back over here and explain that to him. Okay?
I'm with you.
Would you like to do that?
Well, and I also have seen people that I work with who also, anytime that somebody gets these stories are coming out, anybody sometimes in Alaska or wherever gets the shot and they get a nosebleed. Oh my God, this is what I was talking about. And the thing, anything that happens, obviously people who have severe allergies to anything, they're going to be at risk for developing an allergy to whatever, eggs or whatever is in this.
Even those people, 12 hours later, they're fine.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
I know.
It's absolutely.
But people are looking for affirmation and not information at this point. That's what they look for. They think the thing's going to grow them another head or grow them a tail or something like that.
Right.
And I get people's trepidation. There is a guy that I know of who has sowed a lot of disinformation and misinformation about the government and in general what's been and that's leading into this. The general, we talked about this going all the way back to Ronald Reagan about the government incompetence. Oh my God, the government can't do anything right. The government sucks this, the government sucks that. And again, this is private industry, but it's also a government program, Warp Speed, even though Pfizer didn't participate in that. And this is what the discontent that's been sowed among these people and the doubt. And that's what's been going on for a number of years. So they're going to be upset about it.
But, and again, if I went and talked to this gentleman and maybe pointed out that there's just a bit of inconsistency, because, these are Trump guys. Okay. These are clearly Trumpers. I didn't get to politics with them, but people who work on your house for any reason, cleaning your gutters, doing your they all voted for Trump. That's just the way it is. And that's fine. But if I said to him, you know, the impetus behind this vaccine was Donald Trump. He said back in February, and I wouldn't even throw in some kind of, he was lying his ass off because he knew how dangerous it was. But when he was saying, we're going to throw whatever amount of money we need behind whatever companies want to do some research into it, and some that don't, but we'll help them distribute it. It's going to be called Operation Warp Speed. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. And we're going to have a vaccine before the election, before the end of the year, certainly. And it was Donald Trump who did this. This is the Donald Trump vaccine. You may need to really, you know what? Now it just occurred to me, maybe you should call it the Trump vaccine. We're talking about, we have to relabel the candy so that the baby will want to eat the candy. Okay. And obviously it's not going to happen, and I'm not serious, but you listen to the guy.
That's so stupid.
Who said, only I can fix it. Only I would be a great enough president to do what no one else would do. If I wasn't your president, it would take them 5 years to do a vaccine, which was bullshit. Okay. But it turned out that particular feature of what's happened in the last year has been very, very favorable. And if Trump wasn't such a dope and such a doofus, he would have been able to campaign right before the election, leading right up to the election, saying, they have assured me that right after the election, we're going to have that vaccine. They've told me that, and you can believe it because I'm the Operation Warp Speed guy, and I wouldn't lie to you. There were 100 things he could have done besides what he did. Okay. So the point here is that it's all his fault. This is just all his fault.
This is an interesting exercise. If we renamed it the Trump vaccine and gave you a free Make America Great Again hat if you got it, right? If we did that, how many more conservatives would get the vaccine? Now, on the other side, how many liberals would go, fuck no, I'm not going to get it just because you renamed it, right? It would be way more people on the conservative side getting the vaccine if you called it the Trump vaccine, gave it to them in a red vial or whatever, and gave them a free Make America Great hat than liberals would say, no, if you call it that, I'm not going to get it.
Right. And I'm just going with your premise that all liberals will take the vaccine. Conservative.
Well, that's true.
That's not true.
You're fair to point that out because a lot of the anti-vax stuff does come from the left. That's absolutely, you're 100% correct to point that out.
Right.
We should talk about the massive $600 checks that are going to be coming into our accounts anytime soon. Finally, the Senate Republicans capitulated and decided that Americans might need a massive $600, which would keep a couple of families off the street for, I don't know, another week. This is coming with some enhanced unemployment benefits and some other stuff that's going on. It seems to be a pittance, but they were able to get it done and felt like they couldn't be the Grinches who stole Christmas. Brad, how do you feel about Mitch McConnell turning into a hero for working class Americans?
Well, the answer is, of course, he isn't. And that disingenuous, horrendous appearance in the Senate yesterday that was so droll, that was so horrible, where we've reached an agreement. It's proof that we can Merry Christmas. This is the definition of too little, too late. Too little, too late. And this idea that suddenly the Republicans have got their big boy deficit pants on again. We can't spend any more money now. We're too far in the hole spending money that we don't have. And then, of course, tax cuts. Those never have to be accounted for. They just pay for themselves and magically turn the economy into this engine of greatness, which has been proven to not be true over and over and over again, going back to Ronald Reagan. But it doesn't matter. The dogma lives within them, to paraphrase someone in another world. The idea, the insult of giving people $600
and then patting yourself on the back for it, right?
Right. And remember, back in March, it was $1,200.
Absolutely.
Okay. And 1,200 still isn't enough money to live on for any amount of time. But if you have a family of 4,
Sure.
now you're talking, what was it, 24? You get, I think, 600 for the kids or something like that.
Right. You can make a mortgage payment. With $1,200, you can make a mortgage payment.
Right. But if it's a family, you're doubling that, and so it goes up.
Right.
So to half the amount of money after you've starved me for 7 months. All right.
Correct.
All right. I'm going to cut your pay by half. I haven't paid you for 7 months. Boy, this sounds very Trump-like, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. And then you're supposed to kiss my ass. Right. You're supposed to kiss my ass because I gave you $600.
Right. And we're going to, as part of this, deny the states and the cities any more money, because God damn it, we gave you some money back in March. Why can't you fund your fire and police, and pay your teachers, and do all those kinds of things? Why can't you do that forever on the money that you get?
That's a blue state bailout. We can't give you money.
Right, because all the red states run perfectly well fiscally.
Sure.
It's just the blue states that have blue governors.
Dallas has no problem whatsoever paying their cops.
Perfect.
Houston is fine. Everything's good.
And I'm going to say this till I turn blue. You should be blaming Republicans for defunding the police.
That's exactly
right.
You
should be. Say it. Why doesn't anyone say it? Why we're not that smart?
No,
we're not that smart. Now, the one thing that they did manage to get in there, the Republicans, and this again, these are all tells that are bigger than anything that you can imagine, including the fact that they acted like they were Santa Claus giving everybody $600, like that's going to change someone's life or keep them off the streets in February after they finally paid the January rent, which doesn't cover the 6 months that they didn't have to pay the rent. That's still going to be due, right? This is all going to be due at some point. Or what are you going to have every landlord go into a receivership, get their places foreclosed on because they can't get any rent out of people? But okay, they revived an old tax break that didn't exist. They had cut it in half to be able to deduct corporate lunches, corporate meals. Now you can deduct them at 100%. That's supposedly, this is the Republican view. This is going to save the restaurant industry. Okay. Because at all these offices around the country that aren't even operating anymore because everybody's working on Zoom, they're all going to come back and start working in their offices so they can go out to lunch at restaurants in downtown areas so that their company can deduct the meal and save the company. This is Republican thinking at its unbelievably worst.
It's true, though. It's very pure.
This is so sick that you couldn't come up with money for cities and states, but you're going to tag the taxpayers for corporate lunches, for corporate dinners, for the boss taking. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that that's in there, but it is in there. Read about it. It's there.
And this is why the Georgia election is so important, because if the Democrats are able to sweep those 2 seats, I think it's just a slam dunk that there's going to be another check pretty quick under a Biden administration, right? I would think so. I would think the door is wide open.
I wouldn't predict anything at this point.
I think that the Joe Biden comes in on day one and goes, look, that shit back in December was nothing. That's not going to help out. We need more robust relief for these people. Right. I mean, he's a lot smarter politically than I am. Right. He kind of knows what's going on out there in the world.
Well, one of my repeating bromides on things like this is Republicans never react to dire economic situations for Americans until Americans who are heavy investors in the stock market get hurt. Then their attention is suddenly aroused. And the reason that back in March, they were able to get, what was it, $2.5 trillion out there really, really fast in that first program.
Right.
The reason is because the stock market had a 20% correction in 3 days. It went down 20 in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It went down 3,000 points in 1 day. And don't play percentage games. That's a lot. It's a big number.
Big stock traders like, I don't know, Senator David Perdue of Georgia. That's just one that just
maybe he got excited about it. But that has not happened this time around. Now, if when Joe Biden becomes the president, if Donald Trump lets him.
Stop it.
And there's a massive market correction in addition to millions more becoming unemployed and hundreds of thousands of businesses and restaurants still closing as we get through the winter into the early spring. And we have an unemployment rate speeding back up into double digits. If the Republicans still control the Senate, if Mitch McConnell is still there, I guess until proven wrong, we can assume that he'll say, we're not spending any more money. We can't afford it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just can't afford to save the country because we have deficits and debt. There'll be deficit hawks. There'll be debt hawks again because it's a Republican controlling the Senate, Democrat, President, Democrat, House of Representatives. I mean, they will all revert to their, unless there's a stock market break that accompanies that. And then the donors, the biggest donors of Republican causes, the biggest business owners, the oil industry, those are all fucking Republicans.
Right.
They will tell Mitch McConnell, they will pull him aside and say, Mitch, we understand your principled stand on everything. We so understand what a principled man you
let's
are.
get those purse strings loosened up. Let's get that money to start flowing big out.
But let's just get some money in the pockets of tens of millions of people who would actually spend the money.
That's right.
Not just use it to buy back stock,
right,
and prop up share prices.
We need these people in our stores spending money.
Right.
Let's go, Mitch.
Right. So, we're at a really horrendous inflection point where the fork in the road is here, and sadly, it leads through Georgia.
Yeah,
it leads through Georgia, and boy, I hate the look of those polls there because. Kelly Loeffler is it's Raphael Warnock and Kelly Loeffler, and she's leading him by several more points than Perdue and Ossoff, who are essentially tied. And the fact that she's leading him, there's only one reason that she's leading him in Georgia right now. You know why? I know why. The American people know why.
That's right.
And it's sad, and I hope that whatever polling that's out there right now doesn't reflect what's going to happen. I hope that the big turnout in early voting is a good indicator for the Democrats again this time. And I hope exactly the same thing happens. And again, they can't count the votes before Election Day there, right? The rules are the rules. It's Georgia.
That's right.
So they have to wait, just like they did the last time. And on Election Day, maybe the Republicans will come out in greater numbers, and those two will show that they have a lead. And then when the absentee ballots and the mail-in ballots come in, you'll have a Democratic win in both races. And Trump, again, he will claim it was fixed, and there were cartons of voting of fake ballots that were sent in there. It'll be the same thing. It'll be the same thing, and it'll be the same cast. And it's the same show, same cast, but different title to the program. So
I hate that shit.
Yeah. All right, enough damage done for one day, or you got something else?
No, that's it. One more show for tomorrow.
All right, one
Enjoy,
more. And
kids.
Yep.
Go drink your eggnog.